Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm talking about personal finance, going to give out some tips for beginners. Basically, I'm going to talk about how I look at things, what I buy, how I decided what I wanted to buy, and basically run through a couple of things. And yeah, stick with me. I'll also have some freebies at the end of the video, so please stay tuned towards that. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, guys, so first of all, here we are at CoinMarketCap. Now, if you're into crypto, this is basically the go-to place for crypto. But I wanted to start out with it because right now, during the filming of this video, crypto is way down, especially from its all-time high. And I want to reiterate that everyone thinks crypto is this massive game where everybody wins. That's not entirely true. It can, but that I personally think the times for putting in $100 and pulling out $1 million, those times are gone. That's not very likely to happen ever again. And for every person that does maybe manage to do that, thousands, if not more, lose a lot of money. So crypto can be very profitable, but it can also be very ruthless. So I wanted to reiterate that just at the start. Obviously, I have a crypto channel. I invest a lot into crypto, but I know the game is how the game is played. It's going to take a very long time to get those returns out. So that was the first thing I wanted to reiterate. But let's grab this little Excel sheet I made. So let's see if we can give that a little bit of a color. There, and make that text a little one. So basically what I think is a good plan for any beginner, and how I started out basically I started with some savings, and I still save every month. That's something you need to do because you need the money, the trading equity in order to make profits. Regardless of any asset you buy, you need to be able to put money in. You're able to afford to put money in and possibly afford to lose that money, because in all honesty, every single person will lose out on a trade, will start over leveraging, will start doing something you shouldn't be doing, taking too much risk and losing money. And as long as you understand what you're doing, you're taking calculated risks, that is something that can happen, that will happen, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to happen. Obviously, we don't want it to happen. We want to minimize our losses. So that is something you need to be prepared to do. So first of all, you need savings. You need to have some savings. I personally, I've watched Dave Ramsey, for example, and one of the first steps is getting like 2 or 3 monthly salaries in the bank as an emergency fund. And honestly, I agree. And even if you invested in a low risk asset or something where you can pull it out rather quickly, I think that's fine. That's somewhere I differ a little bit from that, because savings have so little return right now that it's costing money to have it in the bank. But having a few $1,000s in the bank is always something very good. You need to have a little bit of a safety net. So be prepared to have that. Be prepared to do that. And then we have assets. So once we start buying assets, we need to be secure in what we're buying. So you can buy any random crypto and you can buy it, and possibly it could go up, but it could go to zero. And if you only have crypto and you start out with that, then obviously you're going to get jaded. You're going to lose money. You're going to put more money in probably, and then eventually you lose out the whole trading account, which is something we don't want to happen. So what I personally did is I started with stocks, buying a few stocks, and basically ETF, exchange traded funds, which followed the biggest market, one of the biggest markets, which was the S&P 500. And I've been buying that, and every single year it's gone up around 20%. Obviously that will not last. Eventually we'll have a correction, but I've gained the profits to incur that correction. So when it goes down, I have plenty of profits to offset that loss from my initial buy-ins or the multiple buy-ins I've done over the months. Now, if that happens, I'm willing to buy a little bit more, because I know that eventually markets will return, economies will start flourishing again, and eventually prices will go up again, and that will offset my losses. So that's the number one option where I've put it in, put my funds in, and it gives steady returns, good return, steady growth, good returns, a little bit of dividend income, which is a whole nother school of thought, which I possibly will do another video about. But dividend income, a few $1,000s a year, which is always very nice. And we have lower risks. So it is a lot less risky to do this than to invest into crypto. So crypto is very volatile, heavy price movements. It can go to zero, it can go to 100% plus, but it is very volatile and it is not safe. So you need to be very willing to and know what you're doing in order to do that. So I wouldn't advise anyone. Honestly, I can't advise anyone because, like I said, I can only do what I know and tell you what I do. But honestly, if you're starting out, going full on crypto is probably not a very good thing to do. Starting with stocks and ETFs is the safer route. And if you do that diligently, it generally yields a very good return. And a lot of people will be very hard pressed in order to gain, let's say it does 20% on their total balance in a year. There's not a lot of traders that can do that consistently. So that is very unlikely. So yes, honestly, I started with stocks. I took some profits from those stocks and used that in crypto. And nowadays it's a little bit different, but sorry. But that is the gist of it. Trying to protect your equity from loss is the number one step to gaining assets, growing your trading accounts, growing your investing accounts. And you need to be willing to, basically what I do is I deposit a little money every month, and I've done some side hustles, some side gigs. I've started a small side company, and the profits from that company I put all into basically stocks, crypto, and real world commodities, etc. But very volatile, heavy price movements, chances of 100% loss of your income, and which is very unlikely to happen on stocks and ETFs, depending on what you buy, because there are riskier stocks. Real world commodities, oils, metals, gold. At the time where I'm filming this, and I will grab some charts in a little bit to explain that as well, but during the time of filming this, silver, metals, platinum, gold, copper, everything is going through the roof, and basically having much better returns than even crypto. Crypto last year did absolutely horrible in 2025 in comparison, and metals are beating every records, as well as a few stocks which are connected to those metals. So another asset, another chance to diversify, and it also brings me to my next point. As long as you own a little bit of every single asset, once those markets start to boom, you will always have exposure to that upside, rather than having just exposure to the downside of only being in crypto, or only being in commodities, and only being in stocks. So that is where diversification comes in. Now, obviously, we also have real estate, but real estate is it is high risk in certain cases. You can buy certain funds, but I explicitly didn't put them in here. But it's a very high entry. You need a lot of money, and most likely, if you have that money, you're not watching this video. So honestly, I wouldn't bother with this unless it's for retirement, or if you already have a massive amount of other assets and you want to diversify, then maybe you can look into real estate. But honestly, I wouldn't put myself into massive debt to buy real estate and basically run the risk of not being able to make the payments on that real estate and having to foreclose and force a sell and having to sell at a loss and then being left with a massive debt. So real estate, very high entry, growth, relatively stable growth if you're able to maintain it, and possible additional income, because houses tend to appreciate in value, but you can also rent them out and get even more value. You can get the rent income. But like I said, that comes with all sorts of risks, where maybe a squatter gets in and doesn't want to leave, etc., etc., and it can bankrupt you. So I personally haven't bothered with it yet, because I think a return equally good can be made on the other 3 without having the exposure to that kind of risk. So it's different risk, can be very high, can be relatively low. It sort of depends on how you do it. And that brings me to my last point. You need to have a plan. Like everyone can buy a random crypto, a random bit of oil, a random stock. But I think forming your own plan, putting in maybe a 20-year goal, 30-year goal. I personally, I started with 20 years, going on 30 years, so maybe 30 years. But I don't want to retire, but I want the option of retiring early, if that makes sense. I want to be able to live free, live by my own rules, and basically have the freedom to do a job I like, do that for several days a week, not a full week, and basically just do that and grow old, have fun, live life while you're young, while you're living it. And I've compressed that down into a 10-year goal, a 5-year goal, and a 1-year goal. So I have several goals for this year. I have a few different goals for the year after that, and every year I manipulate them a little bit. I tweak them a little bit, where maybe I had a very good year and I basically get a head start on the year after that, or I had a very poor year, and then I need to take a look at why did I have a poor year? What went wrong? Did I buy the wrong assets? Is it just market correction? Or did I buy a very volatile crypto, which turned out to be a scam, and I lost a bunch of money on it? And then maybe I should have made a different decision to possibly buy a bit more stocks instead. Or maybe I have a stock which went through the roof, and maybe I should have pulled out some profits, or maybe I should have moved into something differently. And I will add a little bit to that. Yes, you analyze what went wrong, but also analyze what went right. If you found something that works for you, if you have a stable system, then maybe try to prioritize that a little bit, maybe move around a little bit, or maybe you got a side job, you're able to invest more, or you get a raise at your job, you're able to invest more. And I do say live while you're living it, and live your life while you're living it. So I honestly don't put all the money I'm able to in, because I also go on vacations. I also try to do fun things while living, but I do have this long-term goal in mind. And that brings me to my last point. You need to, if you have a 20-year plan, you need to be buying crypto assets, commodities, stocks, or real estate even. You need to be buying things you know will exist in the long run. So I think it's Warren Buffett that said, buy things that you use. Buy things that are there in everyday life. Like, I think one of his favorite stocks was Coca-Cola. Every single person on the planet drinks Coca-Cola, or has drunk Coca-Cola. So technically, that would, that's going to be there in the next 10 or 20 years. Or at least we think it's going to be there. So I buy stocks, ETFs, stuff that I know is going to be there. Like the S&P 500 has existed for tens, maybe 50 years or something along those lines. I don't know the exact year out of the top of my head, but it's very likely if something is around for that long, it's going to be around for longer. And it's comprised of the 500 biggest companies in America, the best performing companies in America. So it's very likely those 500 companies will still be there in the next 10 years or 20 or 30. And if not, the fund is going to change them out for more profitable companies. So that to me makes perfect sense to hold that for basically infinity, up to where I maybe need the money, or I want to retire, or I want to live off the dividends that it generates me. And the same goes for oil, metals, gold, etc. Because metals are pretty much used in every single device nowadays. So it's highly likely that's still going to be the case in next 10 or 20 years. For crypto, a lot of crypto, this isn't true. Especially like meme coins, etc. That's why I don't buy meme coins. Very rarely do I buy a meme coin where I bet a little bit of money on. But I buy crypto, which I think have future potential. And I'm willing to put in a smaller amount of my account and put it in more riskier assets. But I know they have development teams, they have good fundamentals, they have a good game plan, they have a good profitable game plan. And that's why I buy on the offset that they manage to fully complete that plan and have a massive return in the future. So that's basically how I look at things. I wanted to put this video out to help beginners, to help them form a plan, because a lot of people just get into it and start buying left and right, and they lose. And because they lose, they start overtrading, and then they lose more and more and more, and that it starts to snowball, and you get jaded, and maybe you end up making a decision you shouldn't have, and you get into financial trouble, and nobody should have that. So I wanted to put this video out there for you. Now, I did say I had a couple of freebies. So first of all, I have a completely free Discord group. It is in the description, and you can click that link. Oh, it's also on my channel. If you click on my name, there is a Discord icon. You can join that group. It's completely free. A lot of like-minded people in there. I'm in there personally. I post trades that I make, investments that I make, and yeah, I think it's a good group. I'm trying to grow it bigger, even to where we get to a point where we can help each other. And basically, yeah, I think it's a fun group. Great people in there, and I share as much as I can in there as well. And feel free to ask me anything. If you don't like it, you're free to leave at any time. There is no commitment. It is 100% free. Other than that, if you do want to trade crypto, I am of course a crypto channel. I have a link to BitUnix. It is honestly one of the safer options out there. It has proof of reserves. It has isolated margin. So if you are looking to leverage trade, you have isolated margin where it protects your trading account from being blown. So you can use only the amount of money you're willing to put into trade, and it doesn't wipe your entire account. And if you don't know what isolated margin is, you need isolated margin. Trust me on that. Because honestly, trading is risky as it is, especially with margin or leverage. And I think isolated margin is one of the best options. Also, this exchange doesn't require KYC. So if you need that, it doesn't require it. You can use it. It is completely free. If you use the link I provide you, it gives you several extra bonuses, trading bonuses, and these come in the form of deposit bonuses, or if you start to trade, you get an extra trading balance. If you click that link, you can click on more rewards, and it shows you every bonus you can get. And there's trading competitions. Even if you invite your friends, you get a 20% referral commission, and there's pretty much a lot of bonuses you can use. So that's another freebie. And I'm going to keep it at that. I have a few more of these links, but they're not very interesting. If you want to check those out, they are also in the Discord, where you can see certain tools I use. But if you're a beginner, that's not really interesting right now. All right, so I'm going to close the video out on this. No, I'm going to show you one more thing. What I'm trying to make on crypto is, this is crypto right now, where Bitcoin has been very volatile lately. Let's turn off my indicator really quickly. Bitcoin has been very volatile lately, and it's not only up, especially if you're new to crypto, if you're new to building assets. Bitcoin right now is going down, and this is silver. So silver has been going up massively. So what I try to do is I shift with the narrative. I try to be a little invested in every single one, and once a lot of hype goes to one of the asset groups, we start looking for opportunities there, especially around the beginning. This is where I first started buying silver. It's now up there. And a similar thing can be said with Bitcoin, because I've been buying Bitcoin for years throughout this period. But we had a 2-year period where Bitcoin basically did nothing other than go a little bit up and up and up and sideways. And then this happened. So it's still massively up from that period. But you need to have that patience. So that's all I wanted to reiterate with that. All right, so I'm going to close out this video. There's going to be more videos like this, and yeah, hopefully you found it interesting. If you have a question, feel free to leave it in the comments. If you want to do me a massive favor, please leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to, feel free to check out the free Discord, where we maybe can talk a little bit more or something along those lines. Have a good day, evening, whatever. See you.